Welcome, everyone. My name is Hans Korteweg. I'm the Executive Director at COGEN World Coalition, CWC. I'm very pleased to begin our webinar today. It's our 9th edition of the COGEN World Talks series, webinars where we focus on cogeneration or CHP in different markets. And we're very pleased today to be organizing a webinar with our member COGEN Brazil and diving into more detail about the cogeneration market in Brazil, what's going on there, the key drivers, opportunities for the cogeneration sector in Brazil, followed by more specific look at one type of one business in Brazil using cogeneration. Just a few housekeeping notes. We are recording this presentation. We realize that you register and sometimes you or your colleagues cannot participate. So we will make this webinar freely available on our website, and it will also be distributed to everyone who registered for today's webinar. Another point is after the presentations, we'll have 2 presentations today. We will organize a Q&A session, and that can be done via the chat function within the Zoom platform. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them out, and we'll try to address them at the end of the meeting, and I will help facilitate asking these questions via the chat function from the Zoom platform. So actually, without further ado, I'm very pleased to jump into the content immediately. So I'm very pleased to introduce Leonardo Caio, who is the Director of Technology and Regulation at COGEN Brazil, and he will present what the cogeneration market looks like in Brazil today. So Leonardo, if you can, please reveal yourself, unmute, and feel free to share your presentation. And we're all eagerly looking forward to hearing more about the cogeneration sector in Brazil. So welcome, and the floor is yours.
Oh, first of all, thank you very much, Mr. Hans, Mr. Ben, for this discuss here in cogeneration here in Brazil. So I will show about all the scenario in the cogeneration in Brazil, from biomass, from natural gas, from biogas, and another opportunities. Can I share my screen?
Please go ahead, yes.
Oh, okay. Can you see?
Yes, everything is working. You just need to put it in presenter mode. Perfect.
Oh, perfect. So, first of all, I want to talk about your energetic matrix in Brazil. We have a very renewable matrix here, is around 49% renewable in Brazil, because the strong percentage of sugarcane and hydro. Sugarcane, we have around 17% here in Brazil, because we have the bioelectricity for cogeneration, and we have a lot of ethanol, the fuel for transportation, a lot of in cars. So we have another percentage in other renewables, like wood, that Mr. Paulo Squariz from SUZANO will talk about it after me. We have oil, natural gas, another field, but it's relevant that we have 49% renewable. And when we talk about only the electric matrix here in Brazil, we have more than 85% of renewable. That is a large electric matrix when you compare with another countries. So after this, when we see the cogeneration evolution here, we can see that nowadays we have 21 gigawatts of capacity installed that represents around 70% of this number is from sugar cane, and when you add wood and black liquor, we have around 85% of your cogeneration here in Brazil is renewable. So when you compare with the cogen in world, we know that is the other number, only around the 25, 30% is renewable. And here in Brazil, we have 85% because the large potential in sugar cane and wood and black liquor industry. So nowadays we have this number 21 gigawatts, but we have a big potential to get installed, maybe at least more than 10 gigawatts to be installed in the next 10 years. So after that, when we see the ethanol from sugar cane, we can see that is a big number. We have around 30 billion liters per year in the production. But you can see here in yellow, here I can point here, in yellow, that represents the ethanol from corn. From corn is growing up a lot in the last 3-4 years here in Brazil. Now represents around 6 billion liters per year. So when you have the total production ethanol with from sugarcane and from corn, we have around 35 billion liters a year. And we estimate that in the end of this decade, more 6 years, we will pass 50 billion liters of ethanol. And here, when you have these bioenergy products, here in Brazil, we have 3 products that was consolidated here in Brazil, like the 1G ethanol, after that the bioelectricity with the cogeneration that represented almost 18 gigawatts, and after that we have the biogas and biomethane that are we have a few sugarcane mills that start this, and we have a big potential to another mills to start to make biogas and biomethane. So these mills produce this biogas, and when you produce this biogas, you have a lot of things that you can do with this. You can get this biogas and purify in a biomethane and get this biomethane to use in your trucks to substitute the oil diesel from biomethane, or you can use this biomethane to put in a grid of gas to share with the utilities, or you can get this biogas and use for produce electricity. But a lot of the units is using this biogas to purify for biomethane and use it in trucks. So can decarbonize a lot of the diesel, because here in Brazil we have around 4 billion liters of diesel a year in sugarcane industry. So if you can substitute maybe 10 or 15, 20%, you can save a lot of oil diesel in this industry. After that, we have another place that we started to develop 2G ethanol, and to make a sustainable aviation fuel, green methanol. I think more far we have the hydrogen, maybe more years in a long term, but we have this many products that you can develop in this industry. We have 3 products that it was consolidated and more than 4 products that you can start after. And when we talk about the emissions in vehicle total here in Brazil, we get this projection here in the last chart from Datagro. And the preliminary study shows that when you see ethanol vehicle here in Brazil, this car can get less emission than electric car here in Brazil or in an electric car in the world. So the ethanol vehicle here in Brazil is the main vector to decarbonize all this industry. And when you see the ethanol hybrid, let's see here, 27, an ethanol fuel cell, I think this is more 5 or 10 years, it's not a long term, will be get less and less emission. So I think that it is important to see that ethanol and electric car in Brazil have less emission when you compare to the world. But I think the best vehicle here in Brazil will be the ethanol hybrid car. This is just one warm up because we have a lot of data to share with you. This presentation will be available for you guys, and I wait for a Q&A session after Paulo Squariz will be present. Thank you again, Mr. Hans and Mr. Ben.
Thank you, Leonardo. Thank you for a very good high-level introduction to the cogeneration market in Brazil. It's quite a unique situation in terms of the use of a lot of biomass to fuel CHP, but obviously a very green market altogether with a lot of potential for other green solutions. So thank you for that introduction. We'll move on to our second speaker now. So I'm very pleased to introduce Paulo Squariz, who is the Energy Director at SUZANO, and he will provide a pulp and paper producer perspective operating in Brazil and using CHP. So we're very pleased to have you here with us, Paulo, to share your experiences with the technology and with the Brazilian market. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to invite you to share your presentation and begin. Just one point for the participants. I misspoke. If you have questions, use the Q&A function, not the chat function in the Zoom webinar. So feel free to pose your questions, and we'll get to all the questions at the end of the webinar. So Paulo, the floor is yours, and we're looking forward to hearing more about your insights and experiences in Brazil.
Thank you, Hans. Thank you. Good morning, everyone here around the world. My name is Paulo Squariz. It's a funny Italian surname here, but I'm an energy director here at SUZANO. SUZANO is the largest pulp and paper producer in the world. And firstly, I would like to thank you, the COGEN World Coalition, for inviting me for this presentation. That's I'm very humbled to be here to show a little bit of our company and what we do regarding COGEN. Let me just share my presentation here. Can you see my presentation, Hans?
Yes, all you have to do is click it into presenter mode. Perfect. Ready to go.
Okay. Well, my intention here is to talk a little bit about the company's overview, show a bit our industrial mills, and of course, a little bit about the aspects of the cogeneration in pulp universe here. Remember that we are talking here about pulp produced from planted eucalyptus forests, which is what we call short fiber pulp, better known as BHKP, bleached hardwood kraft pulp. Okay, and the agenda here is I'm gonna pretty fast here just to show a little bit the company overview, show a bit our mills, show a little bit on the cogeneration side here, and some big numbers here of the company. Okay, just a little glimpse here on inside SUZANO. It's a 100-year company. We have 100 years history here in Brazil. Is the world's largest producer of a market pulp and one of Latin America's biggest paper producer. We have a net revenue in 2023 around $8 billion US dollars. It's important to mention here that we focus, every executive here in the company, we focus in our purpose here. That's renewing life inspired by trees. That's our main input here in the company, and that's why we follow our products. Okay, we are 21,000 employees and more than 28,000 contractors in Brazil, and I have around 300 employees at our international offices. We counted some funny numbers here. We plant every single day 1.2 million eucalyptus seedlings here in Brazil. And we have at this very moment 1.6 million hectares of planted forests in Brazil and 1.1 million hectares of conservation areas that we take into account in our company here. We have 13 mills owned by SUZANO, standalone, and one joint operation that we call Veracel, together with Stora Enso guys from the Nordic country. And also we have a wood in Finland. We have a mill called Woodspin in the joint venture with SUZANO and Spinnova to produce a microfibrillated cellulose to produce a textile from pulp fiber. Okay, we attend more than 100 countries. We have offices in Argentina, Austria, Brazil, Canada, China, Ecuador, US, Finland, Israel, Singapore, and some technology centers in Brazil, Canada, China, and Israel as well. A little bit of our numbers, our business here. We produce 13.4 tons per year of pulp. We 1.2 million tons per year of paper and packaging. And a very new business is a 6 or 7 years old, a business that we call consumer goods. We produce 208K ton per year of toilet paper, tissue paper, paper towels, diapers, and sanitary pads that we sell here, especially in the Brazilian market. And of course, we've got our branch here of new businesses that we play with lignin plants, fluff pulp, and textile from microfibrillated celluloses. We impact with our products, we impact around over 2 billion people around the world with our renewable projects. That's what we call here at SUZANO, we call innovability, is the pursuit of sustainable solutions through innovation. That's why we look at this business. Just a little bit on the strategic vision of the company. We, of course, I've already said that our purpose here is to renew life inspired by trees, and we'll seek to fulfill this purpose through a long-term strategic vision that ensure the robustness, of course, of our business, while in parallel advancing into new markets and disruptive solutions. If you see at the very bottom here at this slide, of course, I mean, we have to maintain the relevance in pulp through good projects and be the best in class in total pulp cost vision. But of course, I mean, we must advance in the links of the chain and actually expand boldly into new markets around the world. A bit of on our SUZANO mills, just to see geographically how they are scattered around the country. We have, I mean, all the mills here, an exception of the southern region of Brazil. We have plants around the country. Some of the plants are unique to produce pulp. Some of them they have a blend of pulp and paper and lignin, or other only pulp and paper on consumer goods. That's the way we are scattered around the world. We just launched this at the here in Ribas do Rio Pardo, just a very brand new mill of the company that was around $5 billion US dollars as an investment. It's a brand new mill that we just launched. We started up in the last month. Okay, and looking at the talking about cogeneration here, of course, if you talk about pulp process, we have to talk about the craft process. Craft process is one of the most widely used methods to produce pulp. Of course, everything starts here on the blue lines here that shows here in the scheme and the diagram here. Of course, everything starts with wood handling, wood preparation. The wood is harvested and debarked and cut it into uniformly sized ships. Those ships goes to the cooking process. Those ships are cooked in a digester here that you can see here in the diagram. This digester is that we call the solution of a white liquor, which is a mixture of sodium hydroxide and sodium sulfide. This process dissolves the lignin, and which is a substance that holds the cellulose fibers together. Of course, everything that passes through a washing and screening, everything trying to take out this lignin impregnated here in the fiber, and this pulp is bleached in several stages using chemicals, and of course, after all of that, it passes through a drying process. The bleached pulp is then dried, and then we have the stop that we call the sheet formation or in rows, depend of the end use that we have in the plant. So this is the part of the blue lines here, and that we call the pulp areas. The recovery areas, the areas that is very important here for this speech, is that we call this where the cogeneration plant here we see. We have of course the recovery boiler that have a dual function here. One is to bring the chemical products that started there in the cooking process back to the cooking process again. Is a cycle that we have in the company. Of course, the other function of the recovery boiler, of course, is to burn the organic part of the pulp here and generate energy and steam, and of course after recover inorganic chemicals. All this process is that we call the recovery areas. Of course, you have the green space here, that the energy and utilities area in a plant, that we have our turbo generator, chemicals and utilities as every single process that we can see. Going straight to the cogen area, cogeneration in a pulp mill is a very efficient process that combines the production of electrical and thermal energy from a single few sources. Of course, we have here the process of burning biomass and black liquor. Of course, the main source of energy in pulp mill is a biomass, which includes wood waste, such as bark and chips. And of course, the black liquor, which is a byproduct of the wood cooking process. Those materials are burned into biomass or chemical recovery boilers here, as I showed here. We have, of course, the steam generation. Of course, burning the biomass and black liquor generates high pressure steam. This steam is used to drive electricity generation turbines here that we can see in the diagram. Of course, the turbines as a ordinary cogen process is converted to thermal energy onto steam. Of course, steam into mechanical energy that we transform to electricity by means of generation. Of course, the use of steam is especially used here and in the process of the company and the process of the producing pulp. And also we especially, of course, we use this steam especially as to drying pulp and heating other industrial processes in the company. If you have a look here at the cogeneration mills at SUZANO, we use, of course, the Rankine cycle, steam cycle, the biomass, as I've already said, the biomass and black liquor have the renewable fuel here. So we generate energy to use within the company and also to export to the Brazilian grid as from a very renewable source. And the steam generations at the pulp mill, as I mentioned, this is a recovery boiler that uses the black liquor as a fuel and generates more than 90% of the total amount of steam in the mill. And the biomass boiler uses biomass such as bark and chips as a fuel and generates approximately 10% of the total amount of steam in the mill. And of course, you have some auxiliary boilers that sometimes you use natural gas, specifically when you have maintenance, scheduled maintenances here at the company. And also we have the turbines that we have here in the company. We have the two types of steam turbines as a condensation turbines. Of course, we are aiming here to produce an electric power and condensate some steam back to feed the boilers. And of course, the back pressure turbine, the main purpose here is to produce electric power and to be used here inside the mill. The numbers here on the pressure and temperature level in SUZANO mills from high pressure steam, medium and low pressure steam are shown here at the very bottom here at the slide. If you look at the portfolio of turbines that we have here within the company, it's important we have 27 steam turbines here within the company. The total installed capacity at SUZANO is 1.8 gigawatts of steam turbines and total installed capacity. And the main, actually the 100% supplier here at SUZANO is Siemens Energy from Germany. All turbines here installed at SUZANO are from Siemens Energy. In every single site of the company. As a recovery boiler here, we have 15 boilers in the company. The total steam generation, 1.2 gigatons of steam per hour. It generates more than 90% of the total amount of the steam in the mill. And of course, you have here different suppliers such as Valmet, Andritz, and other Alstom and other local suppliers. And biomass boilers, we have 8 biomass boilers within the company. The total amount of steam here is 650 tons per hour. And also we have different suppliers here as a Valmet, Andritz, and some, of course, local suppliers. And to finish here, to be very brief here in the presentation, how are the advantages and challenges implementing COGEN systems here in the pulp industry? Of course, the advantages is the reduction of greenhouse gases emissions. The cogeneration, especially when it uses renewable fuel sources, contributes to a significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. We do generate renewable energy because you use biomass as a fuel. That increases the share of renewable sources, as Leonardo has just shown here in the country's energy matrix. Of course, the water conservation. Some cogeneration systems use water more efficiently, reducing consumption and environmental and has less environmental impact. And of course, the waste reduction, of course, is no-brainer here. You can use biomass waste from the pulp and paper industry itself, reducing waste disposal. Some of the challenges here, the initial capex to implement that requires a high capital investment, which can be an initial challenge for some companies. Just to give a ballpark number here for the last project that we just launched here in Brazil, the Cerrado project. 20% of the total capex of the project was to deliver to the COGEN part of the project. Fuel management, of course, a constant and reliable supply of fuel such as biomass is essential for the efficient operation of the COGEN. The integration with the existing processes, integrating COGEN with an existing industrial process can be very complex and require adaptations to the plant. Every single plant will have some adaptations in the process. And of course, we have to abide with regulations. All the companies here in Brazil must be aware of the environmental and safety regulations that are very strict here in Brazil related to the implementation of COGEN systems. Just, Hans, just a bit of the insights of the company, and thank you for inviting me again for this very interesting webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paulo. That was a very interesting presentation, a very impressive company in your operations in Brazil and also globally. So I actually have quite a few questions I took down. I'm quite interested in your operations in Brazil, and perhaps you can also speak to the company more globally as well. Bear with me one quick moment. I'll just take a look to see if there are any questions. There are no questions yet, but this is your chance. So please warm up your fingers and type away and ask your questions, and then I will relay them to our eminent speakers. But whilst you do that, I do have some questions, and since you just spoke, Paulo, I'm very curious in terms of your operations in Brazil and also globally, if you could speak to that, a percentage of the CHP that you use to meet both your steam and electrical needs in Brazil and globally. And then, well, at least in Europe and other parts of the world, there's obviously a significant drive towards electrification, because for many, electrification equals decarbonization, which is not necessarily always fully accurate. But do you, as an operator, export electricity to the grid on a regular basis? Are there any sort of ancillary services that you can monetize in that respect, or is it just when you have surplus? And then maybe a third question in terms of, you mentioned the very high capex, which is normal when installing a CHP unit. Is there any state support in that respect to help with the high capex costs in terms of I don't know, subsidies, tariffs, anything like that? I would be quite interested to hear more about that as well.
I can start for the last one. I mean, just to give a glimpse of our view here. Of course, you have to. We don't have subsidies in the country. Of course, you have to. As I would say that as an exporter of pulp here in Brazil, we accumulate a lot of. Of course, the taxations in Brazil is quite funny. It's quite funny framework. But it's interesting that some states of course, when you're installing such a plant in some of the states in Brazil, we have some subsidies in taxation of all the stranded taxes that we have in the country to be an exporter. You can use that as a part of the capex that you are delegating to this project. So that was a big part of the country. And also we have some credit lines from the a national bank here in Brazil that you can take that. And also SUZANO used, which was very interesting, that one was the second company in the world to use green bonds to finance those projects, and green bonds that was some of the KPIs of the green bonds was close to some of the environmental targets that the company has here in Brazil. So that was one chunk of the part of the financing here for the project in the country. Regarding the energy delivered to the Brazilian grid, yes, we have actually, to give you a ballpark number here, I mean new plants we have I would say a production productivity very high, that's around 90 to 85 to 90% of the capacity factor, which is pretty good. But of course, we have all the ones that have the capacity factor is around, I mean, let's say 70, 75%. So we are retrofitting them to get, I mean, a higher efficiency. So given that, we have, we have a lot of efforts to use less, especially the high pressure steam here within the company. I mean, in the internal processes, and deliver that to the turbines to generate more energy and have a surplus in the company and deliver to the Brazilian grid. I mean, of course, in monthly basis, yes, we export energy to the Brazilian grid. I mean, renewable power. Okay, I just can't remember the first question that you delivered here, Hans.
Was it just how much of CHP technology you use in the company to meet your electrical and steam needs? You mentioned that you work 100% with Siemens Energy. Is it just in Brazil or globally as well?
No, actually, at this very moment, the SUZANO is looking at what we call the process of, I don't know if I can translate that, we call internationalization of the company, because we started acquiring companies around the world recently. I can say because it's public, we just acquired a share of Lenzing, the Austrian company, to produce some certain different pulp there. And also we just acquired 2 small mills in Arkansas, United States, to produce cartoon. Of course, we are getting into different markets. So actually, we are still getting used to the energy balance for those plants. But I can say that in Brazil, I mean, most of them are delivered by COGEN. I mean, I would say that the numbers, 8 out of 14 plants here in the company has COGEN, and it's an important part of the strategic view of the company.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting. I had one more question for you, but I'm going to look to the Q&As because there are some questions popping up. So another question for you, Paulo. Is there any component which is responsible for connecting and disconnecting machines, i.e. the turbines, on COGEN sites, just to understand how Siemens does that at your sites? Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't. Actually, it does. It does. I mean, those equipments are pretty reliable. Actually, Siemens has some of let's say plants here in Brazil just to take care of our turbines, and all the maintenance is taken care here in Brazil for Siemens, and we have a few issues here regarding those turbines and those equipments.
Okay. I think the next question, well, you partially answered it with my question, but I'll ask it again, and I guess this is for both of you, in fact. With the upcoming and already existing drought in South America, what is the plan to support the power generation in the country as a consequence of the reduction of hydropower, and is there any plans to increase power, distributed power in the country? I think you already alluded to that, Paulo, using low pressure steam more to produce electricity for export purposes. So maybe Leonardo, maybe you'd also want to address that from a broader CHP perspective.
Yeah, about this question, Mr. Hans, when we see the drought here in South America, just the biomass cogeneration that is saving 16% of your reservoir in southeast here in Brazil, 16%. So one thing that we can do is to increase the biomass cogeneration in Brazil. And another thing that you can support this big drought that is coming up in Brazil is to increase more thermal plants. So of course you can get a lot of this expansion only with the biomass cogeneration. So maybe we have a lot of thermal with natural gas, another thermal with oil that is a lot of expensive, and we have a hard emission, because only hydro you can support this big drought that it's coming. So I think that we have to think in how can we get targeted the potential of COGEN with renewable, such as biomass, such as biogas, pulp and paper, wood, that we have this potential here in Brazil.
I would say, Hans, if you allow me, I would say that internally here at SUZANO, we can play a bit on the medium and low pressure side here in the company, just to have an optimization of that inside the company and try to produce inside of the mill, of course, and try to produce a little more energy. And of course, as a pulp mill, we don't have a seasonal challenges here in Brazil, as for example, the biomass from sugarcane has. We have a biomass from sugarcane has 7 months as production and 5 they have a maintenance stuff. And in pulp business, we don't have that. We have an 18 months flat producing pulp and also, of course, energy as a cogen. And those are very important for the Brazilian grid. Another thing that we are doing is on the other side, on the demand response, we look at the mills here in the company that they don't have surplus, but they are consumers, and they are optimizing the consumption cycle them, and trying to of course the demand response idea here is the same that we have in Europe and in the US. So just to lower the consumption in certain, of course, in the peak hours here in Brazil, and try to save some money for the company, also for the Brazilian grid, especially because, I mean, the amount everything that what we foresee here in Brazil is not a problem of lack of energy or lack of projects of energy. I mean, energy. I mean, we have a supply of energy pretty high here in Brazil, and much more than the base load of the country. The point here in Brazil is especially caused, especially by the renewables. Of course, it's happening everywhere in the world. Of course, when you started the peak hours, we have the curve that is happening everywhere in the world, and the Brazilian authorities, especially the ISO, the Brazilian ISO, is looking to flat all that to give more capacity to the grid, to the Brazilian grid. And I think on our side, for pulp plants that have an 18 flat production of power, for instance, can help the country. If you say, for example, if we are very creative to have a bunker of batteries close to our plants, just to deliver some parts of the capacity that the country needs, especially at the peak hours from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. here in the country. So I mean, those are some of the ideas that we're having here in the country, especially on our side, on the pulp mills, just to deliver capacity to the grid, to the Brazilian grid as well. We deliver energy, but of course we are looking at the capacity as well.
Okay, thank you. That's very interesting. As you said, it's not just limited to Brazil. These sort of situations happen all around the world, in the US, Europe, and Asia as well. Actually, Leonardo, I have a question for you, and it's funny how I got it. I was having a discussion with an OEM. I won't say which company, but when I was speaking at a conference here in New York City, and they were quite interested in the webinar and wish they could have participated, but they had asked me to relay a question regarding the how do you say it? How much natural gas infrastructure do you have in Brazil in terms of what could be made available to CHP units using natural gas? Is it localized in certain parts of the country, or is it very well developed, or not at all?
Oh, Mr. Hans, thank you for the question. In Brazil, we have around 3.2 gigawatts of natural gas with cogeneration. Is not a big number. Like I think USA, we have more than 80 gigawatts installed in natural gas cogeneration. So in Brazil, this number happened because the price of natural gas is very expensive. When you compare with the price around the world, we pay around 3 times more for this natural gas. And the CapEx is, I think in a big numbers is like 30% of the the business and the field, the natural gas represents more than 70%. So I think because of this, we have these 3 gigawatts. Nevertheless, we make a plan of the potential of the cogen with natural gas from Brazil, and we identify in 11 industry around the 17 gigawatts that you can start to put the natural gas of cogen. We have this potential, but the main barrier is the price of natural gas. So we have expectative that the natural gas price is coming down here in Brazil. So if this start, maybe we get this potential a reality. So this is the scenario in Brazil. Mr. Hans, I saw here another question in Q&A, how cogeneration can help you with intermittent sources such as solar or wind power. Mr. Paulo Squariz told us about the curve. Now here in Brazil is like a canyon curve. Is around the 25 up to 30 gigawatts in the end of the day for 5 p.m. here in Brazil, because we have a lot of solar. Now we get more than 40 gigawatts of solar and more 40 gigawatts of wind. So 80, 85 gigawatts of solar and wind. And here, how you can get the curve or canyon curve to minimize and get more flat? It's very difficult to get flat this curve, but I think the main strategy in Brazil is to get more thermal and flexible thermal. So we are trying to get this biomass, get this pulp and paper industry, the wood. So let's start to enter every day in this between 4 p.m. until 9 p.m. to get this ramp, to minimize the ramp and get more flat this curve. Now is a canyon curve.
Yeah, we say that in Brazil, and if you allow me, I spoke with the guy that operates the ISO, all the Brazilian grid in Brazil. Brazilian grid is all integrated. is a big country with an all integrated system. He said to me that he is facing now what he used to face in every single after match for the World Cup. After World Cup match, I mean, the grid goes up. I mean, the consumption of power goes up, and he's facing that now every day because of that. So this is a kind of a joke that he said to me. I'm facing every day 25 to 30 gigawatts you have to bring from natural gas thermal plants and also the hydro plants to bring capacity to the grid. So this is a big challenge for them.
So basically, peakers, hopefully they do not result to peak shaving and look into industry to make those sacrifices. We've seen that in Europe and also in Asia. So it's always a risk. Just look back whether we have any more questions. No. Actually, I had one final question, and it's for you, Paulo. Obviously, that CHP plays a very important role in terms of providing the electricity that you need. Are you, as a company, also looking at other technologies that could sort of plug and play and complement CHP in your industrial processes? At least in Europe, there's a lot of talk, but very little investment decisions using, say, industrial heat pumps or other forms, other technologies. I'm just curious whether that's something that.
What I can, I'm not very keen on that, but the last project that we launched that I mentioned, the Cerrado project here in Brazil, we have biomass gasification process, which is not new, but it's important for us. This is a landmark for the company. We're just trying this latest plant that we just launched is a fossil free plant. We are going to use fossil fuel only for when we have a scheduled maintenance. A part of that from that we are not gonna use in the ordinary operation of the plant. So which is very important for us as well. But and I'll give you an answer that it's very giving the ability and the innovability that I've mentioned in my presentation. The company is looking towards new technologies to play here in our processes, not only related to CHP, but also for example, looking at other fuels. For example, for instance, the green hydrogen industry in Brazil is booming. So we are looking to that, not especially to produce green hydrogen or what we call here in Brazil, low carbon hydrogen, but also to play a little bit. I mean, we, for example, this is such a thing here, the company, the amount of CO2 that we put in our chimneys. We are looking at, I'm telling you because I'm sponsoring a project here together with two partners in Brazil to produce e-methanol from capturing the biogenic CO2 from our furnaces. So this is one of the that can decarbonize our shipping fleet. Also from our scope 2 and scope 3 as well. So our shipping company suppliers can use this e-methanol stuff as well. And also we have another look especially in our new business division here, the company looking at the SAF to produce SAF from of course the same biogenic CO2. So the amount of biogenic CO2 that we have in the company is pretty large. So you can apply for different type of fuels, type of biofuels here in the company, and of course to try to decarbonize our fleet. For example, we have a long haul trucks here running. I mean, we have at this very moment 1,500 long haul trucks here running, bringing wood from the forest to the plants. So we'll have to decarbonize that as well. And of course, we've got our maritime fleets that export, that brings our pulp to North America, Europe, and China. So we have to decarbonize that as well. And to be a self-producer of all these biofuels for us will be a big advantage. And it's pretty close to what we think and that we believe as a sustainability company.
Okay, very impressive, very impressive. Yeah, you hear more and more about biogenic CO2 and its potential.
Exactly.
And in Europe, it's a relatively new concept, let's say, and at least the regulators have not figured out how to frame it exactly in EU legislation.
Absolutely. Actually, as you probably know, methanol, whatever methanol, you can blend to biodiesel and run our trucks on there. So this is a. I mean, looking not only looking at the industrial process, but looking at the other divisions of the company that we also have issues to be solved, and we can solve using our own inputs and biogenic CO2, for instance.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think we'll use the fact that we're coming up to the hour to wrap things up. So I would like to thank again both the speakers, Paulo and Leonardo, for their contribution, their presentations, and also a lively Q&A session. So thank you very much for both of you for taking the time to share your knowledge and expertise and insights in the Brazilian cogeneration market. So I'm very pleased that both of you were able to join us today and share that with the rest of the wider cogeneration community around the world. So thank you again. And as a reminder, we will make this recording available shortly on the website, and it'll be distributed to all those who registered for the webinar, including the video, but also the presentations. So that will certainly be an opportunity to spread the information more widely. Just a heads up, I don't have exact dates, but CWC, COGEN World Coalition, has recently commissioned a small study to look at the potential of CHP in data centers. Obviously, data centers are massive consumers of energy. Companies like Microsoft, Google consume more energy than small countries in some cases. So there's a lot of potential there to help increase the efficiency of energy used in data centers and also reducing CO2 emissions and costs. So we've commissioned a study to look at the potential for CHP and data centers globally. So we're hoping to present that towards the end of October. Also on the calendar is the third global CHP market report, which we expect to publish in the beginning of December. There we are looking at statistics provided by the International Energy Agency to look at trends in the CHP market globally, but also zooming in at a continental level and even country level. So look out for invitations for those webinars, and we will, of course, as well continue looking at specific countries around the world, such as what we've just done now with Brazil. We've looked at Japan, India, and Germany, and we will continue to share how cogeneration is doing around the world. So we're looking forward to, again, having a lively webinar like this, looking at the specific country. So once again, thank you again to Paulo and Leonardo. Thank you for your contributions. And with that, I will officially close this webinar, and looking forward to seeing everyone online in a few weeks and months ahead of us. So thank you again.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Nice one.